Hey, what's up guys? It's Dr. Lee, and in this video I'm going to talk about how I knew it was time for me to end my solid food vacation, my juice feast of 130 days. That was the number that I had. And it wasn't because I just completely stopped having solid bowel movements. And this is something that was very confusing, going through the community and talking to people, watching lots of videos. Even John Rose didn't seem to be super clear about this. And it's still a very nebulous topic when you ask people, like, what is going the distance? Is it like that you completely stop going? Are you having, are you having diarrhea or like juice poop still? Is that something that you're still having? Are you having some like little bit of fiber that's coming out? Or are you literally just not having any type of a solid bowel movement? Like, what does that look like? So I was really confused, and but I kind of, in my mind, I was like, well, maybe it'll just be, juice poops that are coming out. And that's kind of what I went forward with. And I kept pushing forward because I was having a lot of solid bowel movements. I mean, I was having 3 to 10 bowel movements. Sometimes in certain days, I'd have even more than that. Mixture of, watery type movements, combined with just full-on solid bowel movements for months. And I started to think that I'm probably getting closer to being done when I had set my goal to be like 90 to 120 days. Like, starting out, I was like, hey, I'm gonna shoot for 90 to 120 days. It seems like, people that are more on the clean side of things, that they're getting done in 90 days or so, and they're calling it. I wasn't raw food vegan moving into this. I was keto carnivore, had been gluten and dairy free for 12 years. Thought I had a really clean diet of non-processed foods, but I mean, it was heavily laden with meat and high fats. So I was like, well, I'm definitely not the raw vegan type. So if it took them 90 days, then it's probably going to take me significantly longer. So I didn't want to set my target goal in my mind to something that is super short, and then it's just not going to be able to be hit. I didn't want to set myself up for failure. So I was like 90 to 120 days, and then I'll reassess there if I, how my motivation levels are and whatnot. If I haven't, gone the distance, I haven't stopped pooping. And I didn't really question it a whole lot, the whole process of like how far to go. When I passed 90 days, I was still highly motivated. I was like, nope, having lots of bowel movements, highly motivated, let's keep going. And when I reached 100 days, same thing. And then 110 days, and I was still like, boom, I'm really motivated to keep this thing going. And it was around a day 120. It was like around day 120, 121, I was like, I'm starting to think more about breaking it. Like, I'm just kind of more, because I was, when I reached day 100, I was looking at people's videos, people who went like 160 days or whatnot. I think Jules is the person that I was looking at, and she, I can't remember, she's like Raw Vegan Family or something like that. It's her she does a lot of great videos. I know Nathan, formerly Nathan Von Dutch, he changed his name back to whatever his YouTube channel is now, but he went 120 days, and I watched his videos. So I looked at these different people that had gone significant distances, and I was like, well, I might be a person who has to go shoot like half a year. And when I was at 100 days in, 110 days in, I felt like I could totally, that's easy, I can totally do that, no problem. Like, I feel great. Like, this is just habit at this point, to be juicing. I feel good going through it. And what kind of something switched around like day 121, day 122, where I'm like, I felt like I had done enough. Like, that was kind of the sensation. I was like, I've surpassed my goal. I feel really clean. Like, I haven't, and the other thing was, at the same time, it wasn't just a mental thing. Like, my bowel movements were different. They'd all been very like solid, but it was like I had done some digging in them, which just sounds disgusting, but at a certain point we were like, am I done? Am I not? Is there like mucoid plaque in here? And because I'd had bits of mucoid plaque come out before that was buried in other bowel movements. There wasn't like some big, you know, ropey snake like some people have posted pictures of that I've seen in different groups. And I wound up like noticing, like checking it a handful of times throughout my, you know, 4-month plus juice fast, and I wasn't having any of that. So I was checking it a little bit more regularly around that time, like around day 120, to see like, is there mucoid plaque coming out, or like, what is this consistency like? And it would just fall apart. Like it would just be kind of, it was formed, but it would fall apart super easily. So I'm like, okay, after like 5 or 6 days of that straight, I'm like, you know what, like this might be my sign to end it, because there's nothing hard, there's nothing like plaque like that's coming out anymore. I'm not even having like weird explosive diarrhea kind of things that I was having. I hadn't had major detox like outbreak kind of symptoms in a while, like in a couple of weeks. And so that, combined with my mindset starting to be more interested in foods and more interested in breaking the fast, and I found myself looking up, you know, Fully Raw Christina and her different recipes for raw foods, and watching John Rose eat his big ass salad. I'm like, oh my God, like I am torturing myself. Meanwhile, my wife wound up, she broke the fast at day 84, and she was 10 days behind me. So I was 94 days in when she broke her fast. And so she's been, you know, eating and doing different, different meals, and none of that tempted me. Like it really didn't actually. But that's another thing that I realized. I was like, I haven't been tempted to start eating any solid foods at all. And now suddenly I'm thinking a lot about it. I'm interested. I'm seeing signs that my body is not going through the same types of detox reactions as before. My weight had gone through like another shift of dropping more and more, and then it stabilized again. Because for a long time it had like been at like 137 for like a month and a half, and then all of a sudden it broke free around like day 118 or something like that, and I've dropped like another 7 pounds, which is just crazy. So like my body was like now getting rid of like deeper stuff. So I had that pinned against the back of my mind, going like, dang, do I break it yet? Like, because clearly I'm getting rid of more stuff because I'm like purging stuff out. Like more swelling and edema and stuff is coming out. But I was like, yeah, well, we'll just see. And then when I looked more into how I wanted to break it, you know, there's a structure to it. So I decided to be like, okay, well, I'm gonna write down my plan on like how I'm gonna break it. And when you do so I wanted to do the prune test, and that was really what my marker was. I was like, okay, so if I pass the prune test, then I will, you know, I'll call it good. You know, obviously I'll be happy and I've reached my goal. And if I don't pass the prune test, then I've got a decision to make, that I'm not confident that I will jump back on the juicing, but it'll just make me be more strict on how I come off of it. And so that's kind of where my headspace was. I was like, well, we'll kind of see, let's just play it out. I didn't think that I would pass the prune test, just because I was still having solid bowel movements. But I was like, well, prune test is John Rose's way of doing it. So like that is the gold standard. So, you know, in this community at least, so let's go through and let's give it a whirl. And so I decided to break it on a Friday based on the research. Is like, hey, you don't want to be anywhere when you're doing this prune test, because you might be having lots of bowel movements. Thank God I did. It happened to be on day 30, was a Friday, which I don't work on Fridays in the office. So I had that day free. And thank God I didn't do anything, because it was I think 17 or 18 bowel movements. I have to look back. 17 or 18 bowel movements that day. First one came out, what was it? First one came out like after like 20 minutes, but that was the normal time that I would have had a solid bowel movement during the day anyways, because in the morning time, like after, it's like usually like 20 to 30 minutes after I wake up or get moving out of bed, is usually when I would have my first bowel movement of the day, and that coincided with the same time after, despite eating the prunes. And so what came out was very normal, to be expected. And then about an hour and 20 minutes in, like it just came like I definitely had a prune juice type of a moment. And prune prune particles definitely came out. And then from that point forward, I was like every 20-30 minutes, like I was back on the John again, more stuff coming out, more stuff, more prunes coming out, more prunes coming out. It probably took a total of around 8 hours for every little prune particle to get out, but within 3 hours, like the bulk definitely was all out of my system. Not perfect, because I don't think I was perfectly clean, but it was enough, and it was a clear enough sign that like, yep, what I'm eating is coming out. So the next day I was like, well, here it goes. We're doing a juicy fruit day. And I went through the break. I decided to break my fast over the course of 9 days. So the first 3 days would be, day 1 is the prunes. Day 2 and 3 was going to be 1 juicy fruit meal, then supplementing with as much juice as I need to get all the rest of my calories in. And then days 4, 5, and 6 was going to be 2 juicy fruit meals, and then all rest of juices like normal. And then day 7, 8, 9 was going to be 2 juicy fruit meals and then a simple salad. You know, John Rose says 3 ingredients, but again, this is where stuff gets like, wait, does 3 ingredients mean like if I do like, you know, like lettuce, like 2 different types of lettuces, is that 2 different types of ingredients? Like, what does that even mean? So I wound up with green leaf lettuce. I did tomato, I did onion, so there's 3 ingredients there. And I was like, well, spices, do spices or herbs count? So I added some dill on there, and then I added I think it was just dill? I had some fresh thyme. So I had like a thyme plant, so I pulled off a little bit of thyme and put that on there. And then I also added lemon. I squeezed the lemon, just straight lemon on there. And that was how I broke with that salad. And up to that point, everything had been coming out. So like, if you're wondering, like, how did it go? Well, I did that first juicy fruit meal, passed, like, and it came out, and I was like, oh, this is so good to see all that fiber come out. You know, did the same thing with the different meal. First day was orange, like it was an orange, and what kind of sucked was that orange was not that good. It was out of season. It was shipped from like Argentina, which I am well aware that it's not. You don't want to do that, but that's sometimes we do the best we can in the areas that we're at. And so I was like, no, that's what I'm gonna break it with right now. And so it did not taste that good. It was kind of like a little bit bittery. It just was not a great orange. So it was a little bit of a disappointing experience to break the first way of breaking my fast. But my stomach felt so small, I couldn't eat very much at all. So it's very true that when you first break it, like your stomach is, you know, I feel like I could eat a whole bunch. I'm like, because, you know, you have that normal hunger of like, hey, it's time to pound a quart of juice, like a quart of orange juice. And I got 1 orange or 2 oranges sitting in front of me. And those were the hardest 2 oranges to get down because I was so full so quickly. But over the course of a week, like that started, my appetite is picking up more and more as far as how much I can eat and how much fiber I can, you know, process at a time. But I would play with different fruits so I can, you know, see like, am I passing different fruits at different times? And I've been seeing that stuff come out. So I'm really, 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 really happy that that's been the case. And so wrapping it up, like, how did I know that it was time to end was, you know, the signs of what was going on with my detox reactions, like how was my body responding, you know, how was I feeling? That came to play in a role. And then the fact that I was just more interested in like looking into breaking the fast. And like, there was just this deep kind of sense of like, you know, you've done yourself proud no matter what, and you can get back on this horse later if you have to. And I plan on doing seasonal detoxes in the future, or juice fasts in the future as well. But I was like, you know what, this is probably my time to transition because all the different signs were starting to point that direction. And sure enough, I passed the prune test, and it said it was time. But going back to that salad, oh my God, that salad tastes so good. But once again, these are the confusing things that we you know, are faced with in this community of like, how many ingredients is too complicated for a salad. I'm like, 3 ingredients, like that's like, you know, the dressing is 1 ingredient, like lemon, and then I got a piece of lettuce, that's 2, and then tomato, like lettuce, tomato, and then lemon. I was like, come on, like I'm too excited to try something, you know, a little bit more complex than that. So that's where I went, and I was like, well, I'm gonna dice up some herbs. But holy crap. I literally, like, I didn't even want to film it because I was like too embarrassed, because I was like almost on the verge of like tears on like how good it was. I'm like, my wife is like, do you want me to film this for you right now? And I was like, no, I'm like, don't, like, not right now. Like, I'd be too probably embarrassed of like how much ecstasy I'm getting from eating this salad right now. And the same thing happened last night. So that was 2 days ago. It happened to be on Thanksgiving. I was actually when I got to break that fast, which is pretty cool. Good timing for like a good Thanksgiving meal. And then so today is gonna be my third and final day of that transition, like the 9-day transition that I have going into now being able to eat, you know, non-juicy fruits. So I'm excited to be able to try a banana and maybe start doing different smoothies and stuff like that, because I have not done that. And then getting to add in maybe a little bit of avocado into a salad will be awesome. And then doing a little bit more complex ingredients in the salads. But you know, I'll tell you what, it's not, I'm not super interested in just like going all out yet on like, okay, throwing things in the dehydrator, mixing all these in and doing super complex recipes, because I just don't feel like my digestive tract is there quite yet. And so what's cool about when you go through this and you go the distance is you learn to respect your body and you learn to literally listen to it. And that's what I've been able to say is like, you know, even when I start adding more complexity to the salad, I'm going to do it slowly, you know, and it might start, it seems like it'll probably all start snowballing into like, you know, a little bit more complexity, but I have that tool to listen now. And I have that ability to be like, give myself feedback. And it's like, you know what, it's not feeling too good. You know, is it feeling heavy in my stomach or is it not? And so far, everything I've eaten, nothing has felt like heaviness in my stomach. Like I've heard people talk about when they break the fast, they can feel like they have food sitting in their stomach and it doesn't feel good. They'd rather just be on juices. And I haven't felt that, which has been a good sign. It means that, you know, things are passing through, they're transiting through well. So these are all the things that, you know, we learn through experimenting. And if you can learn from my experience, then like, I hope that you can, because that's one of the things that kind of drives me crazy and just drives me to investigate more and more and more. And I've spent God knows how many hours researching all of this stuff. And I became certified in Dr. Morse's course to be a certified whatever he calls it, specialist for detoxification specialist, because I wanted to start doing herbs. Like I've been watching like pretty much every one of freaking John Rose's videos where he's diving into this, different other gurus and people's juice fasting for like journeys, going like combing through the past forums, reading books on this, like buying books, like just consuming so much information, because I feel like there's never enough. Like it's like no one in this community has given like a blueprint that is easy enough to follow that answers like all my questions. So I know at some point I'm gonna have to like put something together that would have satisfied me going through this to save me a whole bunch of time, because there's just so many questions that, you know, if you don't have the background knowledge in, it can easily like knock you off your path. So hopefully this, you know, my experience here and what I've shared with you can help you to know, you know, what it's like to end the journey, and when you know that you've gone the distance, because yeah, it's a good feeling to be in this spot. But I think you really want to know and look back and say like, hey, you know what, if I end this fast, and let's say I ended but I've not fully gone the distance, will I be proud of myself or not? And not to say that an emotional in the moment, like, yeah, of course I'd be proud of myself, but like 2 weeks from the time that you walk away and you break it, like, would you look back and say like, yeah, I'm really, really proud of myself? Or would there be a lingering in the back of your mind, wondering like, well, what if I just went a little bit longer? Like, what if I could have just pushed forward? I wonder where I'd be right now. Like, you don't want that in the back of your mind. You want to go the distance. You want to push it to where you know, like, you know what, I can end it here, and I'm going to be super proud of myself on where I'm at. And what that number looks like to you is going to be totally different than what it looks like for me. And you know, we're all on this journey to look at things individually, but I do challenge you to push yourself to make sure that you can look yourself in the mirror and be proud of what you did, because it doesn't matter if you you know, you've gone further than what most people out there have gone. Like, have you gone far enough for you? And so I'll let you think about that one. But hope this video helps, and we'll talk to you all soon.